all our presenters are here. So hello, my name is Arian Weeks. I am one of the coordinators at the Center for Creative Reuse here at Concordia, and I'm here to facilitate the What is Zero Waste Concordia webinar to let you know what Zero Waste is doing at Concordia. It's the first event. Actually, it's the second event of Zero Waste Week. We had an event this morning to launch our reusable mug program, and you'll hear more about that in the presentation. But first, we're going to do a territorial acknowledgement. So we would like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. The Ganegahage Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. And particularly, I want to highlight that these are the lands and waters on which we also get rid of our waste on. So thinking about that as we go through the week, as we go through this session. Tiohtià:ke, Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today, it is a home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We aim to respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. You can see here on the map, this is taken from native-land.ca. And you can see the different nations that sort of occupied this land and continue to be on these lands today. So briefly, I'm going to do a little roundtable, and you'll get to know these folks as we go through the presentation. But we have Faisal. If you can wave your hand. I don't know if everybody can see him in his box. We have Meredith, Anna, Sarah, and joining Sarah is Marina. We have Mava, who's our social media coordinator, who you might have heard about this session from on our social media platforms. Myself, Arian, and Imogen. And what we do at Zero Waste Concordia is the university has set targets to reduce its waste by 50% and divert 90% of materials from landfill by 2040. So we're here to present today some of the ways that we do that through the different programs and services that we offer. So hopefully at the end of this session, you'll know more about Zero Waste at Concordia. You'll have a brief overview of, or brief idea of what the Zero Waste Plan is within the larger Sustainability Action Plan. You might have some new skills by the end. You'll have lots of actions that you can take throughout the week to reduce your waste. And you can connect with us on social media to share how your actions are going, or just generally check in about Zero Waste. Faisal, I leave it to you.
Thanks, Arian. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. So I'll talk about our key strategies around waste that we identified as part of the sustainability action plans that were come up with through a consultation process a few years ago. And essentially, we tried to strategize initiatives that would help us reach those targets that we identified. Things that we had already started doing but needed to do more of, or things that we know we need to do and we haven't started doing. And generally, we categorize them under three headings. I'm going to start from the right. The waste management best practices are sort of the things that we know institutions like ourselves do, generally speaking, to manage their waste well. So these are standards in the industry, things that we should be doing if we're not already doing. We need to get up to speed in all areas of waste management. So some things have to do with having really consistent waste management infrastructure around campus, training for our cleaners, really clear procedures and policies, things that can really get our performance to, let's say, around 70% diversion of waste, like a lot of top performing universities. And by the way, when we say diversion, just for the definition for everybody, it's not a term everybody uses, but it is an industry term. So it means what we don't send to landfill is diverted. So if we're diverting 90% of our materials from the landfill, we're recycling, we're composting, we're reusing those materials. And knowing that number means we have to track all of our waste. So anything that's taken by another company or that we process ourselves internally has to be tracked. So tracking is a big part of this program. So in the middle, we've got upstream interventions and circular economy. So that's kind of the next layer of interventions that we've got. Circular economy is a term that's had increasing usage in the last 10 years, let's say, but it's been around for a little bit longer. And the idea is that doing better with a lot of things relating to sustainability, but particularly materials, like reusing and finding alternative uses for it as close to as possible where they're generated, can actually be really good, not only for the economy, but for the environment, but also the economy and people. And so circular economy kind of embeds this idea that our sustainability is also an economic benefit and a social benefit as well. So we want to encourage more initiatives like Sucker, like the Center for Creative Reuse, or we've got Precious Plastics that's been, setting up their facilities. And we want to see more things like that. We also want to see policies that help to reduce waste. So upstream means trying to prevent waste from happening in the first place. So what are we bringing into the university? Do we need it? And where can we cut down on that? And that means looking at a lot of our major purchases, our procurement and contracts, and preventing materials from coming in the first place, or making sure that the things that are coming in are things that we can recycle, compost, and reuse, or that we're ready to do so with. And finally, we've got explore innovative solutions to waste reduction and diversion. And that's the last layer that builds on all of those others. It's really about trying to bring what we do to the next level and really trying to capitalize on the amazing energy that students, staff, and faculty have to innovate and come up with new ideas that will help not only Concordia, but help society at large do better at waste management and circular economy. So we're trying to create a structure that will encourage that. So within those categories are 14 strategies. And I'm not going to go through every one of them. I'll just maybe highlight that a few of them are things that we aren't doing already. So at the top, we've got this idea of a sorting center and local materials economy that's sort of building up with this idea of our reuse center. It is a place for materials to come and pause, but we're looking at how much more materials can we actually sort from our waste streams and find alternative uses for them as close as possible to Concordia. We've got things like zero waste financial incentives and the initiative support model. So can we structure how it costs to handle materials on campus so that people are encouraged to produce less landfill materials and more recyclable, compostable, or even reusable materials? And can we create structure of support to initiatives and fresh ideas, innovative ideas that help tackle our waste? Anyway, so we're going to actually tackle some of these through our presentation. Strategy number 14, we're not going to talk about for today, for example, or number 12, or number 13, rather, the labs and the construction waste. Those are things that we haven't really started doing yet, but that we're starting conversations about with key stakeholders. And if you want to read more about the plans and what it entails, please go to the Concordia website and check out the documentation there. Thanks.
Basil. Do you want to talk about this slide too?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So you can think of the initiatives that we have right now as kind of either operational or focused on education. And the boundary is never hard like that, but sometimes it happens that way. So for example, the Center for Creative Reuse is an operation. We do have to have the logistics of diverting materials and procedures around that and sending it to the reuse center. And how do we track the materials there? How do people take it out? But there's obviously education involved in the Creative Reuse Center as well. We've got events, waste reduction services that we're offering now, where we're integrating other initiatives that were separate before, like the Dish Project, and the idea of going and helping people sort their waste with volunteers, or collecting the surplus food and finding another use for it somewhere else, somebody else who can use it. Those are all going to be offered in one package. We've got Precious Plastics. So that was an initiative that was brought to us by students and is led by students still. And so we're trying to operationalize that and continue to have them grow, have a permanent site for them to operate, where they're collecting plastic waste and recycling it into 3D printing material. There's quite a list, again, of things, so I won't go through everything, just so that we can get through our presentation. But you can find out more about all of these initiatives on our website, and the website's about to be revamped as well. So if you wait maybe a month or so, you'll find it's much more up to date.
My name is Anna Timbodos. I run the Center for Creative Reuse with Ariane here. And the Center for Creative Reuse, lovingly called Sucker, was started in 2017 in a different location, but it now resides in the Grey Nuns building. And as Faisal mentioned, it is our on-campus reuse center. It collects materials from all over campus, from only on campus, from different studios, departments, planning projects, residence rooms, from basically anywhere that uses materials. We see a really diverse amount of stuff coming through the reuse center here. And then we make it available in this basically free store and where members of our community or members of Montreal community can come for free to collect materials and take them away for new projects. So we have really like a very practical way to identify what materials are being discarded on campus. And just a little kind of tidbit, we've been open now for almost 5 years. We're about to celebrate our 5th birthday, March 22nd, which is very exciting. And we have almost 3,000 members that have come through and signed up to take materials away over that time. Obviously, we were closed during campus closures for COVID, but we reopened in September. And since September, we've had people take away almost over 2 tons of material. So this is a really practical way to get towards our diversion goals by having a place to pause materials. So they're no longer useful for an office or in a department, or they're no longer being used by students, but they're still could be useful. And by bringing them into the center, we are able to open up lots of cool opportunities for somebody to come and take it away, but think about how it could be used in a different way. So one of our actions for Zero Waste Week is to book an appointment to come and visit us. Sucker is open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 1 to 5 p.m. With our amazing work study student, Sharmila. So you book an appointment on the website, concordia.ca/sucker. Choose your 15-minute appointment time. Come, browse the selection. You can sign up for your membership very quickly right there, and you can gather up the materials and take things away. They don't have to be for class projects. It could be basically for anything, but it's really, a good way to divert materials. So obviously the Creative Reuse Center highlights reuse. So one of the best ways that we can cut down on the amount of materials in the landfill is by making sure that they don't head there right away. So giving another cycle, another use, revisioning it into something else can extend its life and make sure that there are opportunities to find materials, and instead of buying them new, you're able to reuse them and continue to keep them, for as long as possible. We know that a lot of materials are mixed and we'll have to discard them eventually, but having a place like a Creative Reuse Center or being more mindful about your purchasing in your everyday life can encourage more sustainable practices. So we all know that it's true. It's sometimes easier to buy the cheap throwaway plastic thing. So hopefully one of the actions this week is to reduce your single-use items. This can be single-use plastics like cutlery that you get with takeout. It could be straws. It could be a variety of other things that are designed to be thrown away. They're designed to be cheap. They're designed to be temporary and not really durable for longer lasting. But make a swap change a plastic water bottle for a reusable one, or try out a beeswax wrap. Our sustainability ambassadors will also be highlighting different ways to swap materials, swap single-use items for reusable ones in the depot. And we've set up a whole table filled with goodies that are reusables instead of disposables. So definitely book your appointment right now to come this week and come and take some of those reusable items away. Oh, yes. So continuing, this is really about thinking about not just in your work life or school life, but also at home. Where can you swap disposables for a reusable option? We see pretty common items here, these Keurig pods. So swapping for a reusable basket is an easy way to make an intervention in your kitchenette or at home, or traveling with one when sometimes that's a common thing in a hotel. Switching for a reusable sugar instead of the packets. Just thinking a little bit ahead so that you can prepare to bring maybe the reusable dishes instead of plastic or paper for your events, because we hope events are getting going again. Those are all options. And we encourage you, especially this week, to swap a disposable item for a reusable one within your life. And if you would like, you could photograph it and tag us in it at Zero Waste Concordia. And we'll also be able to gather a whole bunch of different ideas about ways people are making that kind of swap.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah.
Imogen.
Hi, can
You're
everyone
up.
hear me okay? Yes, okay, great. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about zero waste events. As Anna said, we're hoping that events start really soon here on campus. Some of you may not know about the Dish Project. It's an initiative that started many years ago here at Concordia, and it was originally a fee levy operating out of an annex on the McKay Street. And they had a long legacy of providing reusable dishware for students, staff, and faculty at Concordia. So you were able to rent out dishes for events, use reusable dishware, and then wash it afterwards to make sure that single-use items weren't going into the waste stream. So we have kind of taken over the Dish Project's legacy, and we're trying to preserve it as best we can through zero waste. And we're combining it with a few other services, like bringing compost bins and whatever other kind of bins you need at your event to make sure that things are being disposed of properly in the right waste stream. And also that leftover food is being donated through an organization called Table des Chefs to make sure that all that surplus food is going to be eaten and not wasted. So this is going to be a completely free service, which is pretty exciting. It wasn't free before because it was operated off volunteer labor, but we're really lucky to have been able to hire people to do the work of the washing, delivering dishes, and organizing all the in-between so that your event can be completely zero waste without you having to worry about anything. So we're really excited for in-person events to get going, and please mention this to people you know on campus so that we can start zero waste events. Yeah. Another service that has started actually as of today at 3 cafes here on campus is CANO. So we've collaborated with a CANO company, which is a Montreal startup that's already begun in a few other universities in Montreal, and they provide reusable cups in order to make zero waste very affordable and very simple. You pretty much scan out a cup that looks like this at the cafe instead of getting your to-go cup, and then you drink your coffee and bring it back to a collection bin. And you can see on the far right picture here what a collection bin looks like. Pretty much like a regular bin. They actually look like electrobacks that you're going to see later on. That'll be right outside the cafe that you purchased your coffee. So it's a really simple way to eliminate the disposable cup altogether. It's also completely free. And we're really excited to be offering this to students and staff, anyone who comes through these cafes. Yeah, so it's actually available in 3 cafes, 2 downtown, the Hive and the Marché Express in the LB building, and 1 at Loyola. So our action here is to download the CANO app and try it out.
Thanks so much, Imogen. Really excited to see that project get off the ground.
Hi, everyone.
Sarah.
I'm Sarah. I'm the co-founder of CP3 as well as the internal coordinator, and I'm joined with Marina, who is our projects coordinator, and we're the Concordia Precious Plastic Project, or CP3. We are a multidisciplinary team of students from all faculties. I'm an engineering student, Marina's a political science student, and our mission is to reduce plastic waste at Concordia by repurposing it into new items. So you're probably wondering how we do that. We first collect the plastic waste that's collected on campus or created on campus. We shred it into a smaller pellet size, and then throughout the process, we're keeping everything separated by type in order to do our final step, which is really to transform this plastic waste into a new item. And you can really do this and transform it into anything that you can think of. This is just an example, but we have a bunch of projects that are completed and ongoing to make flower pots, earrings, speakers, things like that. So you can really transform it into anything. And like Anna was saying, giving this our plastic waste a new life. We do focus mainly also on 3D printing waste, as that waste really doesn't have anywhere to go. So we want to be able to create recycled filament for the labs on campus. We are working to get a new student center for us to do this dedicated work in one center. So all students can come and work together on academic projects and research around plastic waste, really. And that's just continuing to foster this multidisciplinary work, and that finding a solution for plastic waste can really take a business student, an engineering student, an art student, a political science student, and coming together to bring the knowledge about plastic waste, but also do this transformational step. Can you go to the next slide, Arian? So this is a few of the examples of projects that I've completed, but we have a lot of ongoing ones that you can check out on our website. But there's a speaker all the way to the left, there's earrings. We've also fostered this kind of, or created a systematic change for 3D printing by allowing the labs that create 3D printing waste also identify their waste. So we know what material it is, because 3D printing, there's about 20 different or more materials that they can use. And so we want to be able to know what material so that we can then transform it into filament. And we've been successful to do that, and we're going to continue to do that. We also want to create more research around microplastics. That's an ongoing one we're doing. So collecting the microplastics that our process creates and be able to reuse it and not have it go in any type of wastewater. And then as well as the filament, maybe new additives, new colors, making a new, more sustainable material that our labs could be creating. So these are some of the research examples, but we are very welcome, and Marina here as our project coordinator is happy to discuss any type of academic projects that you have. For example, the speaker was an academic project that a student approached us with to make a speaker out of plastic waste. And so we work on a mentor basis, and we work together kind of like a big family. So the actions for Zero Waste Week are to follow us on social media to keep up with any type of upcoming events as well as projects. You can also check out our website for past projects or ongoing projects that you might want to join, as well as some really interesting articles that we've written about plastic waste. And unfortunately, our event tomorrow is full. I mean, unfortunately that you can't register, but we're excited to have our first in-person event, and it's already full. But you can check out our past webinars. We were very active during the pandemic, and all of the recordings of our past webinars are on our YouTube channel. So you can check out those.
Thanks so much, Sarah. That's really exciting to see, and you'll be seeing more of them in the coming months and coming years. Imogen and Faisal.
Yeah, so this is our waste sorting 101 game. For this game, no one has to turn the video on. You could just turn your speaker on for a second and yell out the answer if you would like to. This is where we ask where each of these items go, in which waste stream. We have 4 here at Concordia: landfill, mixed recycling, paper, cardboard, and organics. So it's just a little bit of a quiz to see, where you're at in your waste sorting education and if we can help you along at all. So does anyone know where single-use gloves go? And you can also put it in the chat, actually. I forgot that. It's probably the easiest way. So single-use gloves are made of plastic, unfortunately. Landfill. Yes, that's true. So does anyone know where the juice and milk cartons go, the Tetra Paks? We can also try to guess a different one. Containers. Okay, good guess. We're going to get all the answers at the end, so I'm going to go through them. Styrofoam. Landfill again. You guys know your stuff. Face masks. This is a little bit of a trick question, so just putting that out there. We recycle them at Concordia. Yes, exactly. Okay, coffee cups and lids. This one also has multiple answers. Let's move on to the next one. Paper towel. Okay, I think maybe we can go to the answers now and talk about them all together. If that's okay. All right, so single-use gloves, yes, unfortunately go into the landfill along with styrofoam. Tetra Paks go into mixed recycling. Face masks here at Concordia are recycled, which is great. So if you're like me, maybe you kind of store face masks at home and recycle them on campus. Coffee cups and lids are a little bit complicated because fortunately we do recycle coffee cups here at Concordia, but otherwise in Montreal, they're usually not recyclable. Number 5 lids can be recycled, but number 6 can't. So it's just about kind of looking at the number, depending on where you are in the city, and then disposing of it in the right way. Yes, mass recycling bins are at the entrance of each building. Thank you. Paper towel, when it's clean and dry, can be recycled in paper and cardboard. And paper towel, when it's wet, can be put into the compost bin. Bioplastics are compostable and banana peels are compostable. Yeah.
Great. There might be a new initiative that we will be able to recycle styrofoam. We've been starting to work with our mask recycler, who's actually a sort of a middle company that works with recyclers all over the province. So we will change the slide for next time, but it's possible that we're starting to make that change.
That would be awesome. Okay, so hopefully we all know a little bit more about our waste streams now. Our next action is to use a compost bin on campus and avoid contamination. This might seem really easy, but actually it's really easy to to get to the garbage bin and then throw whatever you have out in the closest, most accessible bin. And we've all been there. Only 17% of waste generated at Concordia actually belongs in the landfill, but unfortunately a much higher percentage, about 40% of compostable and recyclable products actually end up there. So it's really important when you come to a waste station to be mindful and responsible and make an educated decision about where you're going to throw your waste. And this is a collaboration. It's your job to know your waste streams, but it's also our job to make sure that the bins are there, that they're clearly signed, and that they're accessible to you. So when you see things like this picture on the left of a landfill bin that's just overflowing with recyclables, you can take pictures and send them to us at zerowaste@concordia.ca, because we want to know where bins like this are and if they could use signage, or if maybe they need a compost and recycling next to them so that people have more options. So it's something we're working on all the time, and we could use your help, and it really helps when you know your waste streams as well. Yeah, so compost whenever possible. E-waste. E-waste is a really interesting one that I always forget about, and we're really lucky to have ways to dispose of our e-waste here at Concordia. So our action here is to bring in small e-waste that's been collecting in your home or office. When you dispose of e-waste in an improper way, it can be really risky for the environment and for our bodies. It can contaminate soil, water, and the air. So it's essential when you bring it in to make sure you're putting it in the right e-waste category. And there's a few of them. So if you have something like an old cell phone, some headphones, iPods, things like that, they go into electrobacs. And I think actually on the next slide, it'll be really clear where everything goes. Yeah, so small electronics are in what we call electrobacs. There's 4 of them downtown, all in mezzanines or lobbies. They're pretty clear to see. That's where you can put your small electronics. Batteries go into battery boxes. There's a public one in the CSU offices, and there's some around campus that you can check out our website to see their locations. Large electronics are picked up twice a year in October and April, and you can find out more about that on our website as well if you have something larger like a printer or a laptop to get rid of. CFL bulbs are going to be recyclable soon, so put those aside and we'll let you know soon. And lead and incandescent light bulbs go in the landfill.
And to just come back to something that Faisal talked about earlier was being more mindful about the purchasing that you make. And you can do this in different ways by prioritizing natural materials, by buying locally. So there's a lot of great companies and so on right here in Quebec that produce a lot of low impact products. If you're buying paper, making sure that it's certified in some way rather than being made of completely new trees. More and more, a lot of our paper is actually not made of any new trees. It's 100% recycled content. If you are buying electronics to replace the ones that you're recycling in some of our electrobacs, is to look at some of the ratings that those electronics have before purchasing. So seeing what kinds of ways the companies that produce them reduce their impacts on the planet and the humans making the products. So looking at EPEAT, which is an electronics sort of standardization or certification process, and it's part of the Global Electronics Council. And then if you're buying things like office furniture or things like that, looking to see if it's cradle to cradle certified, so that the manufacturer has the responsibility of taking back their product when it gets broken or when it's at the end of their life, rather than it ending up in the landfill. Meredith, you're up.
Thank you, Ariane. So I am happy to share. Sorry, I just have to change the gallery so that my face will also be seen. Otherwise, it'll just be a recording of Ariane. But I am actually not from within Zero Waste Concordia, but it was important that we joined today because the Sustainability Ambassadors Program, it works with all of these different parts of Zero Waste Concordia all the time. And that is because we have the Student Sustainability Ambassadors Program, where we take a small group of students who volunteer about 4 to 5 hours a week for the entire academic year. So it's a big commitment, but we really love it because our small group gets to meet every Friday all together for learning sessions. We get to know each other really well. We really dig into different kinds of sustainability. We meet different people across campus so that by the end of the program, all the students involved are able to design and implement a project that they've chosen together. And then during the year as well, so they're not just with me, they are volunteering within some of these great locations. So this year, as Anna mentioned, we have some of our sustainability ambassadors volunteering in the depot at Sucker. So if you're going in, you might be greeted by some of our sustainability ambassadors there. Next year, we'll also be working more directly with the Zero Waste Services for the dishware support. We'll also going to be working with the Concordia Student Union's Diversity Services Office to do more direct education around the relationships between equity and sustainability and environmental justice here. We're also going to be working with the Live Center. We have a ton of groups that really are focused on sustainability on campus that our ambassadors are working with. So for us, it's really important for our students involved to get the opportunity to, both get those campus experiences that really show you what on the ground sustainability work can look like, as well as get the chance to design and implement what students are noticing as a need or a cool project that they want to try out. So this year too, with the Concordia Precious Plastics Project, 2 of our sustainability ambassadors have been working with them. So one of our ambassadors, Miguel, is a master's student whose research really is on the effects of microplastics in the environment, and he's been exploring how to use those recycled microplastics for research, because right now in research in labs across the world, we're creating virgin microplastics for research. So that's just a really cool new project that comes out of his expertise and those opportunities for the program. Another sustainability ambassadors of ours, Emmanuel, is working with CP3 to design some flower pots, as was mentioned. And so there's a lot of really cool opportunities. There's a couple of our ambassadors working on different projects and different forms of outreach. So our application for next year's team is going to close at the end of this month. It's not a particularly intense application process. We really just want to know a little bit more about you. And then we'll do group interviews to make sure that we have a great team dynamic. There's a ton of sort of really wonderful opportunities and benefits with the program, largely getting the chance to meet our large sustainability network that we have at Concordia, as well as achieving some key sustainability competencies. So if you're interested in that, I threw the link for learning more about the Student Sustainability Ambassadors Program in the chat. I also want to encourage you to learn more about the Office of Sustainability, which is where my position comes out of. I have some great coworkers who are also in supporting the Sustainability Action Plan at the university. We do some key literacy assessments of how much our campus knows, and we are also designing some campus event guides to make sure that any event that's organized in relation to Concordia are as sustainable as possible. So our virtual guide is already out, but we'll have an in-person one out soon. But we prioritize that online one since at the moment that is mostly where we're seeing events take place. I also want to encourage you to attend the vermicomposting workshop that's coming up on Friday and then another next week. Both of those are hosted and designed by 2 of our sustainability ambassadors. So you can always get in touch with me if you have any questions at sustainabilityambassadors@concordia.ca. And I'm also going to pop in the chat a link to the sustainability newsletter that we put out once a month. It isn't just from the Office of Sustainability. We include sort of all of the big events and information news from across the university. So it's a really great one-stop shop for learning more about what is going on each month.
Thanks so much, Meredith.
Sorry.
And that brings us to the end of our presentation. And the second event of our Zero Waste Week on this Monday after the time change. I'm sure we're all feeling it in some way. So I encourage you to check out our website, concordia.ca/zerowaste. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. You'll see our banner for Zero Waste Week on our website, and you'll see all the other events. We have another event coming up tomorrow, which is the CP3 event that's happening at 5:30. hopefully you've registered early last week and you're able to attend. If not, I guess check out the YouTube recording in the coming days or next week. And yeah, hopefully you're going to join in on the actions this week. We'll have a check-in on Friday. We're having a little actions check-in on Friday afternoon, sort of same time, to see how you did and to sort of share our how we all did together. And so we're going to stop recording. I'm going to stop sharing.